think the president has to be very careful, and he is being careful. Only 25% of the American people support military action in Syria. Secondly, we have to avoid the Iraq war where there are no weapons of mass destruction, so you have to have almost incontrovertible proof. Thirdly, the president has to get a broad international coalition. Otherwise, he hands Assad a propaganda victory. Assad could say very few countries support the United States with the military strikes. So I think he has to be deliberate on the military side, that the strikes work to our advantage, and to find ways to arm the rebels and find ways to destroy the command and control centers. But at the UN too, I think even though the Russians probably would veto a Chapter 7 all means necessary military action, we can still try to get, for instance, a ban on arms shipments that bring in some of the chemical weapons. We could try to send Assad to the International Court, condemnation. I think the president is pursuing a delicate, deliberate path, saying that we probably are going to use these military airstrikes, but he's got to take all these factors into consideration. The worst thing we can do is go in without a plan, without a strategy, without an effort to really deter Assad and his continuation of these war crimes.
General Hayden, the problem is no one's quite sure what the plan is, and President Obama hasn't committed yet to what the plan may be, and that plan may now have to dramatically change if British forces will not be involved, and that sets a bandwagon running around, say, the French and other international forces who say, look, we just can't take part in this. Would America consider unilateral military action under those circumstances, and how risky is that to America's interests?
No, I think the United States would act unilaterally because President Obama made this commitment for the United States and, frankly, for himself personally about a year ago. And I just can't conceive that he would back down from a very serious course of action in which these actions of President Assad have serious consequences. With regard to the capacity to conduct the attack, it would be good politically to have other nations join us, but in terms of raw military power, the United States has sufficient strength to do this.
I mean, that is true, Robin Wright, but is it politically sensible for the Americans to act unilaterally in this case? Because I would imagine President Obama was not expecting the British to not be in a position to join him, and that may well be the case now, almost certainly will be the case. Where does that leave him politically, and what would you think is the sensible course of action now?
Well, this is an enormous setback for the administration. I did hope that France, Britain, Turkey, and maybe some of the Arab countries would be willing to go along with the United States in terms of what it does, both militarily and in backing it, to give it credibility. And the fact that the British, who have been allies of the United States for so long in so many of our military operations, may not be part of it. But we also have to be careful. This is not over. The UN weapons inspectors are there until Saturday in Damascus, taking a look at what happened. They will bring out samples, intelligence, and this may give a new body of evidence that will allow the British government to go back to Parliament and try once more to see if they can get, whether it's using milder language, but some kind of vote of support, and that will be critical to the administration. But the person who's going to be happiest about what's happened, of course, is Bashar Assad, taking a look at the fact that that these two critical allies can't stand as one when it comes to this basic question will certainly make him feel better, particularly because this is also going to be very unpopular in the Arab world, and he will think that this shows that he's cracked it may not only crack the sentiment in the Arab world, but also in the Western world.